Hi everyone, Christina Werner here. Welcome to another video for SimonsStamp.com. Today I'm going to be showing you a card made using the stamp set included in the March 2019 card kit. The stamp set is called Amazing, and I'm going to do a bunch of different colored stamping and some metallic heat embossing. Starting out with some white cardstock that's cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I will trim down this cardstock eventually, but for now, that is the size. I've prepped the area with an anti-static powder tool, and then I'm stamping one of the large greetings from the stamp set in Versamark ink. This is a very sticky ink, so it's perfect for heat embossing. So I'm pressing down on that large stamp with my fingertips, and then I will sprinkle on some sterling embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. This is a nice silver color. And I will be doing some embossing now, then I'm going to do some colorful stamping, and then I'll come back to even more embossing. So I used my heat tool to heat set this until it was smooth and melted. And now I'm going to do a bunch of colorful stamping. And I have to apologize, for whatever reason, my camera was super bright that day when I was filming. And so it's going to be a little bit hard to see the design until I get going here, and I have quite a bit stamped. So I'm using 4 different colors of ink from Simons Stamp. The first was Scuba, and then this lighter blue is called Lake Shore. And then I'm going to be using a yellow and an orange. The yellow is Duckling, and the orange shade I'm using today, I believe, is just Orange Peel. So I'm altering the different stamp designs from the stamp set, the stamp images, making sure it fills around the outer edges all the way around that embossed greeting. And then I'm using my heat tool to speed up the drying process, since these inks soak into the paper and they take a little bit of time to dry. And the reason I wanted to make sure they're completely dry is because I'm going to do some heat embossing using that silver embossing powder again. And so I need all of those areas to be super dry so that the embossing powder doesn't stick to those areas. So I've figured out the images that I want to be heat embossed, and I'm stamping them all at once. I'm going to walk my fingertips over the top of each one of these images. I have again used Versamark ink for this. Then I'll sprinkle on that silver embossing powder and tap off the excess. And for any areas where there was maybe a little bit of stray embossing powder, I just wiped that off with my fingertips. So I'll use a heat tool to heat set this once again, and then I'm left with a super bright and metallic area. There were a few little spots where I felt like it needed more color, so I'm stamping some additional dots, and then I also stamped some smaller dots. So that's pretty much all of the stamping complete. I'm going to trim this down a little bit. I'm going to take 1/8 of an inch off each edge, and I'm trimming it down this way because that greeting is in the center and I wanted it to stay there, but I did want the overall size to be a little bit smaller. So I had to trim down each of these 4 sides. I then took my Versamark pad and I just inked up the edges along this stamped piece. I then took that silver embossing powder and just dipped the edges into the embossing powder. This is going to give me a really fun silver edge around this entire stamped piece. It's going to give it a little bit more of a finished look. And then I'm going to prep my card base. So my card base is made out of some white cardstock that I've scored at 5 1/2 to create a top folding card. And I wanted it to be one of the colors that I used for all the stamping. So I'm going to do some ink blending. And in order to protect the back of the card, I'm using some Post-it tape and just masking off the area just past the fold. I'm going to put down a Tonic Easy Clean mat so I can easily blend onto the edges. And then I'm using that Scuba ink that I used before, and also a Ranger mini round blending tool. And I'm just blending in from the edges. And I kind of liked the look of having the really saturated edge. So I kept the edge pretty saturated and then kind of blended out. And there's only going to be a very small amount of this color showing once I put that stamped piece on top, but it is going to match. It's going to look really cool because it matches those stamped areas. So I just placed that over the top to see how it looked, and then I decided I wanted to pop it up using some foam. This is white craft foam, and I'm using some Gina K Designs Connect glue, putting some squiggles of glue on the back of that foam, and then I'll press it onto my stamped piece. I'm then going to put more of that adhesive onto the foam, and then I can turn it over and press it down onto my card front. The advantage of using craft foam with a liquid glue like this is that it gives you a little bit of time to wiggle your piece, your stamped piece in my case, until it's just perfectly placed. I can wiggle it a little bit and then press down. As it dries, it will be permanent and super strong and adhere to my card front. So that is the card for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please check out this month's card kit for March 2019. There's this really large stamp set and also a more holiday themed stamp set for St. Patrick's Day. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in another video very soon.